Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and if the holodeck is rocking, the inertial dampeners must be offline. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Happy 7 of 9 day.
7 of 9 day. I didn't think I've never heard
Yes.
that.
Oh, well, only in Europe, I guess. In July, we
Mm-mm.
celebrate 7 of
Mm-hmm.
9 day here. But yeah, it's great to be back after our short break, a couple weeks, to talk about Lower Decks. And we'll get into it in a little bit. First, I wanted to mention something which has become a tradition here on the show, and that is Lord of the Rings talk. And I have to tell you, I think I warned you about this earlier, but I began to feel that itch again to go on an adventure, and I felt like I have to watch or at least read the Lord of the Rings books. I read The Hobbit, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was made clear to me that there is a unabridged, fully voiced, full version of the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit as well. I think the Silmarillion too, performed by Andy Serkis that is available on Audible. And I went, that's how I'm going to experience the trilogy this time around. So I've been listening to that, Andy Serkis read and do all the voices and everything. It's only like 30 hours long, but I'll get through it someday. So
I didn't know that. That is it an Audible exclusive?
uh, I'm sure you can probably just buy it, right? But I got it because I signed up for Audible and I got two of the books free, so I'll have to pay for. I got
Let's
to
go.
pay for Return of the King. Yeah, but I'll have the money someday. But so I was just really excited about that.
That's awesome. I'll have to get those.
Yeah, it's really weird to hear it read as well. And I'm not saying that it's not like interesting, but you when you read it, like I'm a fast reader, and so when you read it in your mind, and like let's say the early on in the story where Gandalf is just sitting Frodo down and he's telling him like, look, you don't know any of this stuff, so let me tell you all this stuff. And in the movies, they sort of like do a little bit of that, but they do some of it with Bilbo and they kind of cut it all together to get you through that. But I was just listening after a while, I'm like, this is going on for a long time, and again, Andy Serkis is doing Gandalf, doing Bilbo and Gollum as he relates the story of the riddle game between Bilbo
Oh
and
my
Gollum, and it's
God.
like, oh man, there's just so many levels here. So, yeah, they haven't even left the Shire yet, but I'm already swept up in the magic and the wonder. So I would recommend it to anybody who's got an Audible credit or two. Otherwise, it's like
That
25.
sounds amazing.
It's
That
like
makes me want to
25
get
bucks.
Audible.
Yeah, I'd rather just buy the book, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, that's enough Lord of the Rings talk. We'll get that out of the way and talk about news in the world of Star Trek. And the real news is, and we've been talking about this on previous episodes, but 4 months in, and the strike is still on. And it looks like the strike, the writers and the actors are going to be joined by video game voice actors as well, who have received authorization for a strike vote. So the strike continues. I don't know if you know anybody specifically who is being impacted by this, but I'm sure it's a difficult situation. But I'm proud of the writers and the actors for holding the line, literally, and being strong in the situation.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get much uglier before it gets better.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm worried about I'm worried about people. But like you said, they're doing something really fantastic.
hmm
Um, I believe in the union.
yeah.
Last weekend I was at a Labor Day parade in the slightly bigger small town next to my dad's hometown, and the union float came through with SAG AFTRA shirts on playing, and for the union makes us strong, and I was
Right.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I hope that we have an end in sight here. I mean, I think the real trick is that they've got until next year. Like they've already they pushed Dune 2,
Yes. Yes.
which I think is them being like, "Oh, we need Zendaya and Tim on Instagram when this movie comes out."
Yeah.
And so I think that honestly, at this point, I think the trick for everyone on the picket line is going to be to um, wait until next year,
Yeah.
because that's when the pressure is really going to be put on the big companies, and they're going to start losing more and more money as they have to keep pushing premieres. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what you think. Yeah.
I think that, and I've got my Paramount head on, because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about Star Trek, but I think we're talking about 2 episodes tonight. You want to premiere with a bang, but I was a little surprised that they wouldn't try to claw that week back, because every episode that they spend is another episode that's not going to be airing in, another year or 18 months, however long it is. So, um, and I know that Paramount is currently locked in a battle with former Yellowstone star Kevin Costner about unpaid bills, apparently, and so Paramount is going to really have to watch itself. Some of the numbers that I've seen have been something to the tune of 45 to $50 million is essentially the ask. I think for, I'm not sure if this is for all of the union striking members or just for Warner Brothers employees specifically, but they can make this all go away with, $45 million. And then the other day, David Zaslav reported that Warner Brothers has lost somewhere between 450 and $500 million in expected revenues because of the strike. And it's like, that's hypothetical money, though, buddy. That's just assuming that you know how much your movies are going to make. And of course, if you knew how much your movies were going to make, you wouldn't have made Shazam 2. You wouldn't have made a Batgirl movie and then thrown it away. And so you don't know what you're doing with your money and your stuff right now. And what you need is employees who are well paid and can do their jobs. And so the fact that the powers that be have set themselves, firmly. It's 4 months have gone by now, and they still don't want to just do what's right. Um, it kind of makes you wonder why you're in this business, but I guess it's show business. There's no other business to be in. So uh, I'm hopeful that it will resolve soon. And I think that you made a good point about how the way that the season goes and the cycles of the entertainment industry, they're not going to be able to go through too many more sort of quarters and stages of the viewing year before they really feel the hurt. Warner Brothers tried that during the COVID year. Obviously, did their home streaming experiment on Max, and after just like 10 months, they were like, "We're not doing this anymore." So hopefully, it won't take that long, but they'll realize this is also another bad business move to resist giving the writers and the actors what they deserve.
Also, because they just are continuing to look like even more of like an evil supervillain than they already did.
Doesn't look good.
Like cutting the trees.
Yeah, cutting the trees, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Please.
I wish I had more news on the Star Trek Prodigy side. I don't, although the fan effort and also the efforts of the producers behind the show to find a new home for it continue. And it seems like there's been a pretty good response online to and on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now called X.com. The hashtag Save Star Trek Discover or Prodigy movement has been going well. So fingers crossed that we'll see the second season of Discovery show up somewhere. And who knows, if it's a success, maybe a season 3 of Discovery. It's too much to hope at this point. Something that we can expect to see soon, that is tomorrow on official Star Trek Day. Of course, they celebrate it on the 6th in Canada, but in America we celebrate it on the 8th. They will be premiering one of a few very short treks. Casper Kelly, the creator of Too Many Cooks, if you remember Too Many Cooks, viral circa 2013 or whatever it was, who has also worked on some of the short treks and worked for Adult Swim, has created short animated spots based on and featuring the animation style of Star Trek The Animated Series. So there are 5 planned shorts releasing from September 8th, and then that next Friday until October 4th, with titles like Skin a Cat, Holiday Party, Worst Contact, Holograms All the Way Down, and Walk, Don't Run. So little extra fun, and of course featuring the celebrity voices of some of the actors playing the characters in those short treks.
That sounds like it's gonna be good.
It does. It sounds like Look, if you're going to be a real franchise, you're going to compete with the big boys. Black Widow and Hawkeye are selling Audis. We've seen them in the commercials. You know, you got to go the full court press. And Star Trek was always just this weird show that could really only afford to be on syndication or on its own network. And then there was like, oh, we've got 2 of them running. Is that too much? But you didn't see Star Trek other places too much. Maybe Shatner would go on SNL or Belushi would do Shatner on SNL. And so Star Trek, you know, is doing what they did short treks. They're showing up on Mount Paramount. You know, we're really pushing forward what Star Trek can be with animated shows, with children's shows, and I think it's great. And this seems like another kind of shot in that battle to get Star Trek out there for everybody. And I think it's really great. I can't wait to see these. It premieres at 10 o'clock a.m. Tomorrow, I guess. But man, why not take some of that brain power and some of that money, and why not make a Star Trek movie? Here's a crazy idea.
We're waiting. We're
What if there's a movie and like the people from Star Trek are in it? Why don't we do that? That's what I want to see. But I will check out these very short treks.
Well, they're working on the one movie.
Well, we'll see.
In theory. Well, we're gonna have to wait.
I think the last
something else to bump.
Every time Zachary Quinto gets in front of a camera or a microphone, they ask him about this, and the last one was like, I don't know. You know, I heard they're working on it. I'd love to do it. I don't know if you saw the pictures of him with Ethan Peck in wherever they were, some con or something somewhere.
What, Dragon Con? I'm Googling during the show. It's important.
Dragon Con just happened, so it would have been a little earlier, but they did. You didn't see the viral picture? They did the distracted girlfriend meme with some fan. So it's like, it's Zachary Quinto, you know, and he's like walking with like a girl, and the girl's looking back like, whoa, and she's looking at Ethan Peck.
No, and I can't find it.
All right, Google that.
I'll find it later.
But anyway, yeah, hopefully that will happen in the future. But at this point, I don't know. I think we'll get Dungeons and Dragons 2 before we get Star Trek 4, I think.
And you know, I never saw the first one.
Star Trek 2009? Oh no, the
D&D.
The D&D movie. Yeah. I don't think you're missing much, but it's fun. So anyway, that's that. A bit of sad news. I don't want to just give out a shout before we move on, but friend of the show and Star Trek artist and comic artist Gordon Purcell announced that his wife of 44 years, Deborah Purcell, passed away very recently. And it was very sudden, and she leaves Gordon and their son Jack, and he's still kind of reeling from it. So if you know Gordon, or if you're friends with Gordon on social media, if you just send him a message of support, he's just a really, really nice guy. He's been on Enterprising Individuals several times. He might have been on Discoverage way back in the day, but our hearts go out to him and his family right now. Let's talk about this pair of episodes, the first and second episodes of the 4th season of Star Trek Lower Decks. Episodes entitled Twovix, that's Twovix, and I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee. We're here to talk all about these episodes, but first, as always, a warning, we are setting a course for the spoiler zone listeners. If you haven't seen the episodes, spoilers are incoming, and we'll talk about them. First one, and then the second one, let's say. The official synopsis for the first episode, Twovix, is the Cerritos ensigns must assist a caretaker on the voyage of a historically significant starship. The episode was written by Mike McMahon, directed by Barry J. Kelly and Jason Zurich, and the star date for the episode is 58724.3. Quick little note, there's a character, the character who is the curator in charge of this special ship. It's the Voyager. That character's name is Belijo Tweakle, which is probably a reference to Bejo Trimble, who, of course, Bejo Trimble celebrated her 90th birthday a couple weeks ago. So wow. Happy belated birthday to her. Bejo Trimble, of course, famous Star Trek fan who helped save Star Trek, organized the letter writing campaign that saved Star Trek from cancellation after its second season. Oh, friend of the show. And that character is voiced by Andy Richter. What'd you think? What'd you think about our return to Lower Decks this year? What'd you think about Twovix?
Loved it. I mean, I loved Voyager.
Yeah.
So this is super funny. The mannequins at the beginning were killing me. The little robot salamanders are killing me. Um, yeah. I don't know. I feel like this episode and the next one in particular, I feel like I don't have much like to say about them. Like I feel like they were like this is a great first here on this podcast, and I have nothing to say. But what I mean is like they it was good, no notes really,
Yeah.
but also I'm not like wow, that was a great first episode for Lower Decks to be back with a bang. You know what I mean? I mean, it was. I feel like it was very classic, like Lower Decks with the references
Yeah.
and the um the promotions bit is interesting,
Yeah.
but and I do like that because it's like the show has to go somewhere. Like we love Lower Decks, but
Does
we
it?
can't. Well, they can't. What are they going to stay? It's going to be like Harry Kim. They're going to
Yeah.
stay ensigns forever.
Yeah. No, I mean, they can't, obviously. It's funny. I think that we are coming from the same place, but we have a different outlook or way of expressing it. Because for me, it was like, I was hoping that, like you said, we would go somewhere this year. And, fool me three times, shame on me. I don't. The show's just never going to go anywhere, and I mean that's just what it is. That's
But I don't
fine.
want it to really go. I just want it to make me believe like we're going.
Right. No, yeah. And I don't, and it's weird because the show is so breezy and is so, like jokey that when it slows down to go, oh, this is a big deal. Or like, I know he came back, but like when Shax died, people are like,
Mm-hmm.
no. And it's like, whoa, this show never really does that. But when you think about like other classic comedies, I feel like they can go places, like things can change and things can develop. And in its very nature as a send up or a sort of a mirror being held up to Star Trek, you know, it is it it's just doing the Star Trek reset. It's not really making fun of the fact that Spock's brain is out or they're meeting Zefram Cochrane or something like that, or they've gone back in time. And then the next week it's just like, oh well, nobody's ever going to mention that. Like they're not really like as a show that is calling out all the weird things about Star Trek. It is just a show where every single plot is just, oh, Mariner resents authority, so she's going to get in trouble, and Boimler is completely hapless, and he is going to slip on a banana peel or something and cause trouble, and Rutherford and Tendi are worried that their friendship it might have to end. But no, for the 31st time, no, their friendship doesn't have to end. And for me, the returns they do diminish. I'm not sure. I feel like this promotion thing is like a finally kind of thing, but I wonder. Now we have to watch them worry about their promotions for 10 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Um, there's I did like how well I mean obviously at the beginning of the episode she's like, yeah, we're doing Voyager. It's like, yeah, you guys are gonna do Voyager, so let's get all the Voyager jokes in. But something I thought was kind of good but could have gone farther was that we all know that like even people who love Voyager are like, I mean, it's kind of a silly show sometimes. They're never really like, yeah, they've got that episode where they kill Twovix, which this episode just runs into the ground. But nobody ever thinks that it's really Trek, a gold 5-star firing on all cylinders Trek. It's a little silly sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the fact that they called that out in this episode. But I feel like there was a missed opportunity in that, and it's been a long time since we've had the punching up or punching down or whatever conversation, but I'd like to see some really good jokes about Voyager. What's this show for if we can't make some Robert Beltran jokes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? like why can't we pick on the funny things that we all or the horrible things that we all know about Voyager, and instead it's just sort of Neelix's cheese. Yeah, okay, Neelix's cheese. If they had gotten the ghost clown back and had gotten Michael McKean, That would have been a great celebrity guest star thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you think that? Did you think that bringing Twovix back was, just doing a Twovix, um, was a good idea, or did you think that recontextualizing that very thorny trolley problem as a fun joke was the right thing to do? Forgive me if I feel like I'm railroading you, so to speak, in a certain direction.
I think you were. I think it was apt of you to say they ran it into the ground. It got it got a bit old over the course of the episode for me. Um, you know, that being said, Voyager was silly. I do think the Tuvix episode is one of the more like Star Trek-y episodes because like, well, do I kill him? And it was
Yeah.
funny. My roommate and my partner were watching with me, and so I was saying
Whoa,
like,
did you
oh,
have to explain Twovix? Oh boy.
yeah. And so I was like, oh, like there's an episode where the two of them merged,
Yeah.
and the captain was like, well, do I let this new thing live and my friends die, or do I kill this new thing and bring back my two friends? And I said, so she killed him. And my roommates were like, she killed him? I was like, well, yeah, she had to take him back apart
Yeah.
to save the lives of her crewmates instead of letting the thing live. And they were kind of like, they were a little bit like put off, like a little, they were a little more surprised.
Yes, that's what the episode was for.
Yeah,
It's
and
funny.
which I guess I
I'm
must have watched Tuvix when I was like young or something. Maybe I was just
Yeah.
like used to Star Trek because I don't remember ever really being like, or being like, "Ooh, this is sad because she's gonna have to kill that thing," But I don't
Sure.
ever remember
Yeah.
being like, "She's gotta let
Oh,
Tuvix
this is a
live." It's
thorny
like
issue. Yeah. Yeah.
crack Tuvix back apart, dude.
Yeah. It's funny because that's everything is backwards here. I'm glad that your roommates enjoy watching the show with you and like the show, but like this show is not for anybody who's never seen Star Trek before. It's for
And not this.
it's
not
for the
these
opposite
two
person.
episodes.
Yeah.
These two episodes, I was like, usually it's funny enough that if you know nothing about Star Trek, it doesn't matter. And these two episodes, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
there was at one point the whale thing. I was like, oh, there's a
There's
section of the ship called
whales.
Cetacean Ops, and there's whales in there.
Yeah.
And my partner was like, oh, like in Star Trek 4. And I was like, no, not
Well,
like that at all.
No, actually. Yeah.
And he was like, what? And I was like, those are regular whales. These are Starfleet officer whales. They're different.
They're like beluga
like,
whales
I
or
don't
something.
understand.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to understand. Yeah, it's weird that it's just so for people who already know what it is. And then also, how do we honor like that episode? We bring the Tuvixes back, only there's a million of them. They're all just kind of shitty bad guys, and then we don't resolve it at all. Like they literally relitigate Twovix. Like if Captain Janeway, I know she had a time machine, but if Captain Janeway in her dotage had a time machine, she probably would be like, I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, no, don't Twovix or whatever. And so we have a chance to do that, and they're
Janeway is like, she's like rubbing her hands together like a fly.
Yeah, and then going like this, and we have a chance to do that, and they're just like, oh, but they're just silly monsters. We all remember that Twovix was a silly monster. And then the third act is like, there is no, I guess making them assholes makes you go, yeah, of course, obviously I would separate them. That guy was a dick. But they have the Vulcan just go, boop, boop, boop. Oh, they're all done. Okay, we don't have to think about this quandary anymore. So, I don't know.
That Vulcan character
come on.
that's relatively new.
Yeah.
Her name. What's her name?
I don't remember.
To something.
I
I like her a lot. She's very funny. I like how she talks. She talks like my roommate, which is not to say that my roommate speaks like a Vulcan.
Yeah.
But when we moved into this house, my roommate found my label maker.
Okay.
And was like, and was very excited. And I said, you can use it. And then I left for 4 days and I came home and every single thing in this house was labeled. My kitchen cabinets are labeled. The drawers in my kitchen are labeled.
Door. Carpet? Why one on
honestly,
the carpet? I love it. Just one floating in the toilet water. Toilet.
Toilet water.
Awesome.
I flush it and there's a new one in there. I'm like, how's she doing this? How's she keep doing
It's
this to
flesh. It's
me?
coming down. Yeah, that's great.
It's so I like maybe a little bit of a soft spot for my roommate. She speaks oddly sometimes. I'm taking her to Renfest this weekend, so that's gonna
Oh,
be I can't
nice.
wait.
I
Um
remember Renfest. Oh,
You sound like my
Renfest.
grandma. I'm like, Grandma, I'll take you. It's still there.
Yeah, you can go. It's
We
accessible.
can
We'll just
go.
drive you right up to the door.
It's right there.
So anyway, I guess
Anyway, Star Trek.
from a oh that's cute sort of perspective, like saving the day by targeting their personalities, what makes them unique,
I
something
mean, I
more
did
than
like
just
when
they
Tandy
aren't
was
just their
like,
bodies or their DNA. Like I
yeah.
liked that, but also that is kind of what Tuvix was about, and they didn't have an answer then. But don't worry about it. Yeah,
I did like when the Vulcan girl was like, "Oh, so now you're gonna help me?" I really like when Vulcans have the underlying sass is
right.
so
Yeah.
beyond. It's like to deliver that line without being like, "Oh, so now you're gonna help me?"
Oh, because it's
But I
cute.
like Teddy
Now
being
you'll
like,
help me. Yeah.
"Well, this thing is sort of just this is kind of a lump. This is sort of an unsentient meat hunk." And my friends are in there, so I'll make an exception for them because it's my friends and because this is not really sentient.
Right.
I thought that was funny because I feel like she was being like, "Oh, now Starfleet, now you're gonna crack it apart with me," and she
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, well, this isn't quite the same as just
Argue. Yeah.
the regular
Billups.
Tuvix bit."
That's the real answer. Is that you just make five more Tuvixes and then you melt them all into one huge Tuvix that's like kill me, and then you make it into Neelix and Tuvok again, and then you've got your answer. So they did. You know what? They cut the Gordian knot. They did it. My hat's
I
off
also
to,
part of
to
what was
Lower
so
Decks.
charming about Tuvix is that it was two of the most, it was like the most unlikely of characters mashed together.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like they could have done that in a little bit of a funnier way this time around. And then it would have been more like, oh no, don't, but that character is so funny. I hope that it stays,
Yeah. Oh no,
And
no, no. Tuvix was awful. Like Tuvix was like weird and annoying, and he's the kind of guy that would come up behind you while you're reading and be like, "Oh, is it pretty good?" Like no, no. Tuvix was. We do not like Tuvix, but Tuvix had a point. Tuvix had a right to live, and Janeway, made a decision, and I don't fault her because it's one of those things where when you're a captain on a boat at sea, your word is law. But
well, and it's also like, yeah, I was thinking
that's
about
why
this. I
it's a
was like, this
brilliant
is kind of weird
episode.
because when she cracked Tuvix open, they were like out there. And if I were Janeway, I would have been like, yeah, put them on like the stretcher and get them apart because we're in the middle of nowhere and I
Yeah,
need Tuvok
yeah,
and I need Neelix for some reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Need Neelix to cook something, I guess,
yeah.
to marry an underage woman.
Oh my god. Um, yeah, maybe Tuvix would have been fine. We should have kept Tuvix. Could he cook? Maybe he cooks better. Who knows? What
I
did
don't
you?
know, the Vulcan in him. I don't know. Although maybe it would balance out Neelix. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like cooking's like a science experiment. The Vulcans are good at that. What'd you think about this? Will connect our episodes very well. What'd you think about
There
the
we go.
mystery ship that shows up at the end of the first episode and the beginning of the second one?
Bizarre. I thought that we were gonna find out what was going on right away in the second episode because I was like, well, it's lower decks. Like they don't really. This isn't like their bit. I feel like.
It was
Is that
a
how...
yeah, it was a very non-lower decks bit to the point where I was watching the episode with my girlfriend, and this ship comes out and blows up the other ship, and she's like, "What's that a reference to?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, but I
That's
guess
good.
I guess when you're lower decks, you kind of run the risk of like, oh, you're doing
That's
a
really
joke.
funny.
No, no, I'm
Yeah,
being
like, oh, I
serious.
don't
This is
get it.
cool. It's like, no, I don't get your little joke.
I'm not getting it.
Yeah, so I
That's
don't,
funny.
I didn't recognize that ship. I don't know
Me
what that
neither. And
is.
well, and I was just shocked at the cut to credits. With the first episode, I was like, if the screen went black, and I was like, cut to credits. There's not going to be a reveal.
Yeah,
And then when there was no reveal in the second episode, I was also shocked.
yeah.
But maybe they're doing, maybe they're like, well, we don't want to do the same thing over again for a third season. Let's do something different. So I'm excited to see who's in there. I hope it's a reveal. I was
Yeah.
watching and I was like, oh my God, it's going to be Spock in there. Like, I was
Oh,
like,
what?
something
Yeah.
weird is about to happen.
I heard that, I mean, Jeffrey Combs is coming back and he's going to play the computer again, right? So I bet it's the AI. That's my guess.
Command.
Something to do with him. Besides, you can't end one of these seasons without an AI going rogue and trying to
It's
kill everybody.
it's Elon Musk's like head on a robot.
Futurama did it already. Let's talk about the second episode. I
Yeah.
have no bones yet, I must flee. The synopsis for the episode is Mariner tries to get demoted, Rutherford tries to get promoted, Boimler makes a big move. The episode is written by Aaron Burdett, directed by Megan Lloyd. I don't believe there was a star date. I didn't catch it, but maybe there was one in Mariner's personal log. And of course, the title of the episode is very similar, perhaps a reference to I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the Hugo Award-winning science fiction short story by Harlan Ellison. Although there's no connection other than that, I don't think. What did you think about I Have No Bones Yet I Must Flee?
I liked it. I thought it was funny, but the Moopsy thing, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna turn around. There's gonna be a plushie of that.
Yeah,
Like I'm gonna get like a Facebook notification that's like,
they were leaning real hard on Moopsy.
I know.
Yeah,
I was like, let's dial that back a bit. But otherwise, I thought it was fun. I liked that we had some more like character moments.
yeah, yeah.
Especially after a break, between seasons. I liked that we got to see them like talk a little more and talk about their promotions and stuff.
Yeah. I think that it was, and I mean this in like a good solid way. It was like standard Lower Decks. They found they did what they did. They found a Star Trek thing. Oh, people are always getting thrown into cages for some reason. Yeah, yeah. And then they made that the center, and that was good. Unfortunately, some of the character beats were standard, which is like, now she actually has the promotion. I feel like they've already done this, right? Like he went to the Titan but didn't like it. She was either promoted or something happened before where she was in a position of higher authority.
Promoted and then demoted.
She was an ensign plus or something like that. Yeah. And so we've seen that before, but I think that they did weave it into what was going on well. And I don't know if Jerry O'Connell went to the writers and went, can I have an actual character and not just I like weights?
Please.
Because Ransom was a little more, he had more of a character. Yeah, and I liked how he was not just a punchline in this episode specifically, and he was like, I know what she's doing, I'm not going to let her get to me. But then the solution at the end, and a good twist, was, you have to knock all my teeth out. No, please, this is an order. Punch me in the face, So she got to punch him in the face.
That was good, and it did remind me of.
I was like, that's good.
I mean, it's in like the first couple of episodes, isn't it? That he stabs her in the foot so she doesn't go out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So just kind of, again, this is this is ground that I see our footprints on this ground, but I thought it was executed in a good way. I will say though, and I gotta get out of the way early. Farscape did it. Farscape did it first. A creature that seems cute and attractive, but eats people's bones. There's an episode called Bone to be Wild. It's the second episode of the second season of Farscape.
Bone to be Wild.
They go to a planet that's all plants, and it on purpose introduced this creature so it would eat all of the animals so the plants could feed, because there's a plant-based life form scientist who wants to study the plants, and so he has done this on purpose. And so it's very similar to the setup here, but yeah, Farscape did it first. But the character didn't go Moopsy though. It didn't say that. And also, I've seen a million of these Rutherford runners too, I think, but I did like how this one resolved too. There's the joke of he's doing the thing, and then some other character we've never heard of, but he's better. It's fine. But I liked the resolution when Tendy's like, I order you to to be my friend still.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I'll just get a promotion then. And then it never mattered because he could just always get a promotion. So there you go. Lower Decks.
Still friends.
We got it. Yeah. I thought there's some good lines in this episode. I like There was one good thing that I thought that they could have transferred to the one upper guy, because Rutherford's like, oh, I will get a promotion, and then we can, say nice things about people behind their back. Boimler's going to be a great lieutenant. That was like funny. And I thought, oh, they could have switched that to the guy who keeps one upping him, but instead
We
he was
can
just like,
say
"Ah."
nice things behind their back. That is a good one.
When they're running from the bone creature, and they're like, oh yeah, the no weapons policy in a death trap zoo, great idea.
Really cool,
funny.
Narj.
Yeah, nice, Narj. And then they start arguing, and Narj is like, Narj is gonna go make sure Moopsy's still attacking the door.
Yeah. That was good.
I
thought Narj was funny.
Yeah. I'm not sure who the voice actor was for Narj. I looked at the end credits and nobody was singled out in particular, and I didn't recognize any voices. So maybe it's just a regular player. But yeah, good job. Who's like a weird like corn cob guy or a banana or something like that.
Yeah, they called him a tree, but I was like, I'm from Minnesota. I know a corn cob.
Yeah, right.
When I see one,
little silk
he's
on
shucked
top
and ready for the grill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get the boneless corn though. That's
Otherwise, Moopsy will beat you to it.
What else?
Oh my god, you saying that? I have to say this. A YouTuber I like. Well, somebody. It doesn't matter. This person was streaming one time, and he was like, "Corn on the cob, but instead of the corn bone, it's a hot dog." Are you following me?
Okay.
And then another YouTuber that I like made a video, and she was like, "Here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna try to stick corn to the outside of a hot dog. This doesn't matter, but corn on the cob instead of the corn bone, it's a hot dog."
Okay.
And Narj, he had bones.
Yeah.
He had bones.
Yeah.
For Moopsy to drink.
Yeah, he was full of potassium and calcium. So, and what else? I got confused at the end. The humans did it on purpose because they wanted people to come see the menagerie or something like that. I didn't really get what happened.
They wanted to take it. They saw how much money he was making. They wanted to take it over.
Okay. They were trying to drive or kill them off, I guess, and then run the menagerie.
Yeah, they were trying to kill Narj. They were trying to grill him.
Yeah. What else? I think that's all I got. I mean, we could name all the references. Yeah, we saw all the references.
You saw him. We saw him. We loved him.
Here's a reference for you. Does Ransom get something about Mary teeth at the end of the episode? He smiles and he's got these really big teeth. There's the movie Something About Mary. There's a character who's like, he hears that the girl that he likes big teeth, so he gets like dental implants, but they're like, so when he smiles, it's like 4 teeth like in front. He's like,
I have no idea. I've never heard of this movie.
Okay.
I'm frightened.
I know Mike McMahon knows that movie.
But, you're like, I know Mike
That's
McMahon,
what it reminded me. Yeah, I feel like I do. Come on the show, Mike. What else? That's all I got pretty much. I did like, it's having the room that that's right next to the warp nacelle. It's like, yeah, okay, that'd be a thing. That'd be a hazard.
It was funny, but I was also like, when is he gonna turn like the window shades on?
Well, and that's the thing. We all know there's window shades. That's why it like doesn't quite work. Maybe they're broken. He hits the button and it's like,
I know.
Beep,
I was like,
beep,
but
beep,
I know that they're right there.
Yeah.
I know they're right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't think that all the way through.
But Boimler didn't.
Or the room between holodecks. It's like, okay, that's good. That's digging into that's asking the big questions. Like, what would it be like to live here? What would be the crappy things about having to live here? Getting the dent in the top of the bunk because you're getting up too fast every time there's a red alert. Yeah, that's good stuff. That works.
My roommate came in during the credits. She said, "Oh, Jack Quaid from Oppenheimer."
Or from
Jack Quaid of
my adventures,
Oppenheimer fame.
My Adventures with Superman. Which is a really good show.
Kid playing bongos in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, or that too. Yeah. I think most people would know him from The Boys, but he also does
But yes,
the voice of
Jack
Clark Kent.
Quaid from Oppenheimer.
Yeah, the bongo guy.
Who
I
gave him
think
those bongos?
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Any other thing that you can think about on for one of these episodes?
I don't
Comments?
think so. I'm just excited to see more. I'm excited they're back. I love Lower Decks. I selfishly am very glad that the strike is not pushing Lower Decks back.
Yeah.
Because I love it. Although we'll see, what happens with season 4. One never knows.
Yeah.
And as always, the second that SAG tells me to cancel my streaming subscriptions, I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Our
am genuinely waiting on the day.
hand is hovering over the
I know. I'm like,
no more show.
my hand is hovering over the. I think I'm paying for Disney and HBO. My dad pays for everything else. I'm hovering over canceling it, and then also calling my dad and saying, "Come on, cancel it."
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we've talked many times about our support for it, but for the strike, but the powers that be have not said anything like that. Although we will be following their suggestions when we do. In the meantime, we don't work for any of these companies. We don't make a dime off of this. So us just talking about a show that we saw, I
was gonna say I'm also waiting for them to be like fan creators.
Well, yeah,
cut it out.
And that'll be, I think, the very last thing to go.
And if and when it comes,
yeah, we'll just play, elevator music for an hour. We'll talk about Lord of the Rings. When the Tolkien family says, no, we don't boycott Amazon, we don't like what they've done with our show, then that's a gone too. And then we just talk about God knows what. But in the meantime, we're done talking for this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPOD for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage, this show, come out, and tweet to us on the show using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at eistpod@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed. Give us a rating and a review because it really does help us out. And if you want to help the show grow, tell a friend about it, post about it on social media. Discoverage will return next week on September 14th at 8 p.m. for the third episode of Lower Decks' 4th season. We don't know anything about the episode yet, but we will soon. And anyway, we'll be here on Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then and follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPOD to get notified when we are live and broadcasting. And I'd like to mention that we don't only talk about Star Trek here on Twitch. Also, I play video games every day at 12 p.m. Central every weekday on the Laser Lunch Hour. I play some video games. We talk about geeky stuff and nerdy stuff in the chat, so join us then. Starfield, a kind of Star Trek related game, or at least a Star Trek similar game, has just come out. It's a big game, and I've been playing that. So come watch me play some Starfield. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, and we'll talk about nerd stuff every weekday, 12 p.m. Central, right here at twitch.tv/JustinofTrope. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of of Lower Decks, and remind people where they can find you online.
You can find me at Gondor Gold on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, and I have a podcast called Generations Geek that exists.
Is also on Twitter. Or X.
Or X.
Yeah. Still.
Do you know that he tried to change the name of when he was working at PayPal?
Yeah.
He tried to get them to change PayPal to X?
I do know that. There's a lot of things I know, but that's a different
There's a lot of
podcast.
things I wish I didn't know about Elon Musk.
Yeah, so we won't worry about that. But if you want to find me on X, I'm at KA1IBAN, Caliban on X. And of course, you can find our shows there as well. And if you want to find any of the other shows on the Just Enough Trope Network, go to justenougghtrope.com. That's it for us. Thanks for listening, and we are signing off, and we will see you in the future. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.